You know what I love about how I'm in here today? And this is like my upbringing is I grew up in a small town in Arkansas. And neighborhoods, growing up in a neighborhood and getting friendly with people, with your neighbor,
Yeah.
is a different template than it is as a New York City relationship with your neighbors, right, in your
Yes.
neighborhood. And you're born in these neighborhoods, so yeah, I'm a literal
You
transplant.
you born in
I,
Canada,
I was born in Canada,
right?
as you know, but I was raised in Arkansas. I moved there when I was like 10 years old. So those were my formative years. But this whole thing about, and I've been living in this neighborhood, what, close to 20 years. And my point is, like, where I grew up, you get to know your neighbors over long periods of time. And it's
Yes.
kind of built into the rhythm of those places like that. And there's no rush to get to know your neighbor. So
Right.
you share little details over long periods, like you might see each other at a cookout or something, and spend an hour but hardly get to know each other. But over the whole years of knowing somebody in neighborhoods like that, you get to know all about them very slowly. And from an outsider coming to New York City, I found that people, when you get to know your neighbors in a place like this, it's quickly. Like, so you and I, we just exchange hellos and goodbyes for years in the
Yeah, yeah,
neighborhood,
yeah.
right? Or walking your
That's true.
dog, or you going to work, or me going to work. But what I find interesting about the rhythm of New Yorkers, and you're a New Yorker, so I
Yeah.
don't even know if you have an awareness. It'd be interesting to hear your perspective on that, of this, which is that,
I I'm definitely a New Yorker who was born in a different time where I noticed there was a lot more block interaction.
okay,
I'm saying,
so that's what I'm getting at.
yeah. So yeah, I've been here, I think almost about 10 years or more now.
Yeah.
And like you said, we've only said hello and goodbye, and we talked for now
But
every
in
now and
those
then. But
times, we say a lot.
yeah,
You know
no,
what I
definitely
mean?
we've had our shares
Like,
of.
we talk about our daughters, we talk about your
We've
work,
seen
and
our
so
daughters grow, like pretty much.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me is I find New Yorkers is just built into the rhythm of the DNA of this city, that you may not spend a lot of time with somebody, but you get a lot of info exchange because
Yes.
life's quick on these streets, and it seems like you need to be able, like, hey, I'm rushing to work, but what do you do for work? And you get to know each other really quickly about essential things. And I don't know, so I feel like we haven't had this kind of sit down, but we've talked about it so long that
Yes.
it feels so, like, it feels like the party we never had, but we've
Right,
always
right.
been
We've been
trying to
waiting for this
arrange.
moment. Waiting for the
Exactly.
right moment.
Exactly.
I mean, to be honest, I've always looked at you as a neighbor,
Yeah.
and I said, well, as I guess as we grew to know each other, I learned a little more about you,
Yeah.
and I found it interesting, all the things that I've learned about you so far,
Yeah.
which we'll get into. But just touching base on what you were saying before, like growing up on a block with people for years, right, is slightly different than what my daughter experienced.
Right.
Because coming to this block, she was not one to go outside, not one to really worry about making friends the way we
Yeah.
maybe in our time did,
Yeah.
you know. So I think that we might have. I feel blessed as far as that. I feel like she didn't get to share that experience, and maybe there was a little bit in towards the ending of my last moments in Bushwick, where she connected with block, block
Block
people.
family.
Black,
Yeah. I
black,
hear you.
block
I hear
family. Yeah.
you. That doesn't happen. You're right to bring that up, because it's more and more.
Because it was different here. Like, we all love each other, we got respect for each other, but it's slightly different
It's
here.
different. And there was a change in this current generation with that.
Yeah.
I mean, the digital age took hold, and then
A lot of fear factors too,
correct,
a lot of fear
correct,
factors.
absolutely, absolutely.
which I think we kind of bypassed, even though
Yeah.
we had a lot of fear factors too.
We just didn't know it.
We just
We didn't know of the
somewhat,
fear.
you know,
It was
yeah.
there. It was something to be feared, but we didn't
If
know
it came my way, then I would deal with it. But
That's
until
right.
then, I'm gonna stay fearless.
That's right.
You
That's
know?
right. But there's other thing too that you bring up, which is interesting, is that I know I've experienced the difference of this, being an outsider coming to New York. Most New Yorkers, by the time they're adult age, by the time they're our age, Carlos, they've lived in what, 2 or 3 different neighborhoods.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the rhythm where I grew up in the deep South is that you usually live in the house you were raised in, and you know you stay there until you go off to your next chapter in life. Where so that you get to know and everybody else replicates that same template on your block or in your neighborhood. So you literally grow up with the same people in your little radius or block circle for, you know, grade school all the way through college. It doesn't really change. So, but a typical New Yorker has moved 2 or 3 neighborhoods by the time they're an adult, right?
I think there's a lot of New Yorkers that do go back and forth.
Okay.
I haven't been one of those. I've pretty much been steady all my life from Bushwick to Ridgewood.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
been lucky to. I think that's the only reason I kind of am very familiar with not just block people, but the neighborhood.
Yeah.
People in the neighborhood. And I'm a barber too for 32 years.
Yeah.
So that has allowed me to. Lucky thing for me is I didn't have to run into the city to find work. I've
yeah.
always had a walking distance opportunities to work.
Another key
But
factor
you, I
being
see
in New
you,
York.
you come born in Canada, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're always back and forth.
Yeah, you know the nature of my work. It's funny, and I won't use his name, but a black guy that we both know really well. I was living in this neighborhood probably 10 years, and as an actor, I take work wherever it is. If I go over on location out of the country or you know, out of state, back and forth from LA a lot, or the overseas gigs. So when I'm here in New York City, I'm here, but when I'm gone, I'm gone. And it was this one particular guy that we both know really well on the block. One day, I was probably living here 10 years at that point. And, you know, again, we know each other cordially, but not deep. And he says to me, listen, man, I got to know, what do you do for a living? I see you around, you spend weird hours here on the block. He said, are you a drug dealer? Like, you got a lot of time on your hands.
That was the question?
Yes. He was kidding, but I understood. He's like, so yeah, my schedule is in every way sort of different and unconventional and always has been. So when I work, it's pretty intense and it's deep, long hours, as you know, the entertainment business is.
Yes.
But then when my off time is real off time, you know, and I'm not one of these lucky actors, and I've found my space of appreciating what I'm about to say, but I'm not one of these guys that goes, I'm not a big famous actor that goes from role to role to role. Sometimes that happens in life, and other times there's pockets of downtime. But
Can you tell my audience your name?
yeah, Donnie Keshawarz. Yeah.
Keshawarz is
Yep.
Keshawarz.
Yeah.
Donnie Keshawarz, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cook's Pod.
Yes.
And it's amazing to see you and the changes, because I know you have different looks.
Yeah.
You don't always look the same.
No, yeah.
And I guess that's because of your business.
Yeah, you know, I guess at this point, 54 years old, I've been doing this since I'm in my 20s. I guess I've kind of established myself as a character actor, you know, and that's kind of differentiated from like your leading man type. And when I got into the business in my 20s, everybody wants to be the leading man, so I wanted to be that, but it just kind of ended up that I can play all these different characters and different energies and different looks, and like, dude, any accent you throw at me, I can do. So I've just happened to be gifted that way, and I've got this particular look that can work for all kinds of different cultures. And my makeup is a lot of different cultures. My dad's from Afghanistan, so Middle Eastern. My mother's German, so European. I was raised in Arkansas. I got this funny Arkansas accent, but I look like this. So over the years, I just it just landed that way. I started doing more of the character roles because I can do different energies and stuff. And you're right, it has lended me to play all kinds of different.
You have
energy.
a very wide
Yeah,
character roles. I see.
I do.
Like,
I do.
some
I appreciate
actors,
that.
they stick to like maybe it's more back in the days when it's like if you were playing Superman, it's Superman.
Right.
Or
No,
whatever,
I think
but you
I
have
think
a very wide.
I think you're absolutely right, Carlos. It's still that way, and that's kind of what I was getting at. I probably wasn't explaining it, but the leading man versus the character actor type
Right,
differentiation. Those leading men, they do well and they're good. You can't. A lot of these guys have chops, but they do one thing over and over and over. They look like the same character over and over and over.
I
Whereas
think these days more than back in the days, actors probably don't want that.
I think you're right.
They
We
wanna
got a
have a
few.
more-
We got a few. Christian Bale is one that can still do that. Joaquin Phoenix, they take on these different energies in different spaces. But I think you're right. More and more. I don't know if it's the style of
You prefer
Film
to have this different lanes, I guess, so to speak.
So it's become like kind of part of my career, so I've embraced it, and I personally am glad that I can be a different persona in different things. So I appreciate it. I think I like it as a fan of acting too. I like seeing an actor that can make me believe he's or she is very different in the different energy or role that they take.
What's your
on.
like favorite kind of roles do you like?
I like.
I know you do like a lot of like law.
Yeah, these days I'm on either the criminal side or the good guy or the bad guy. I kind of specialize in both sides of those. I like a character that has some complexity, like maybe he's the bad guy, but really down deep he's hurt, and so at some point the film takes a turn and you get to explore. I like the clashes of energies, so I also like playing, really sympathetic characters that may also have a dark side. I like those kind of like the dichotomy.
You ever seen Entourage?
Yeah.
Is that the way more or less things
Yeah, like I mean,
come about?
oh, in the industry, I didn't understand you for a second there. I think
People present things to you, or you look for something specific?
yeah, for me it's a mix. Like I'd say these days, like I still audition for stuff. 40% probably, maybe 60% depending upon the weather that year. But I do get a series. I'd get it's a smattering of like sometimes projects are pitched towards me and written for me, and then other times I still audition pretty heavily, but they know me. This business knows me well enough now that often.
Did you always wanted to be in this business?
Yeah.
Since a kid?
I was a soccer player as a kid. Deep, heavy fan and
So
addict.
You had it in your brain, or you knew? Because it's like for me, cutting hair 32 years, I was doing it, but I didn't know that I was gonna really like go the length.
Yeah.
that I've-
When did that happen for you? Like,
16, I started picking up the clippers.
Okay.
And, practicing and ruining people's hairs.
yeah, good family members.
Yeah, block people.
Yeah, yeah.
Thankfully, I've been in the block so long at that time that people, they gave me the chance.
Yeah.
They were my guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Because they knew that I was just picking up my skills.
Right.
Just learning.
Was there somebody that influenced you to pick up the scissors?
I just identified with it. Like I pretty much seen a barber while I was waiting to get a haircut, and I was very interested in the machine and how
Yeah.
just the art.
Yeah.
To me, it's an art.
Yeah. Did any of this part of it attract you? The fact that stories exchange happens during your.
I didn't quite look at it like that. In the beginning, I kind of just thought about cutting hair, and then as I grew into the industry, I realized how much of sort of a therapist. You could be.
Yeah,
you know?
right. Yeah, yeah. And you've got a very calm demeanor about you. People, I'm sure people open up to you.
Yeah, I give them a lot more ear than I do verbally. You know,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I don't know it all. I'm just human like them. So
yeah,
whatever I've experienced, if we have a common ground, then I can share with them.
yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, I'm just trying to be a good listener. And
yeah, yeah,
I'm more in the world of barbering, but in the business of self-esteem.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
because barbering is a business, but it's more of a self-esteem business. 'Cause
yeah.
people coming to us for haircuts, and you go get your outfit brand new, and then you got to go get a haircut. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So
yeah.
it's a
It's
very
the icing on the
self-esteem.
cake of
You got to
feeling good
pick up
about.
your,
Yeah,
you know,
that's interesting. And it's
and
the highest point on the body, so it's a very.
and to be where you at, you got to have a lot of self-esteem.
You do. I'm normal too.
Yeah.
I'm a mix. I'm like you. I'm
Yeah.
just a regular guy. I have a mix, man. I tell people, because I'm a Leo, and people expect the Leos to be Leos, and I'm a mix, man. I've got what I'm confident about.
Yeah.
I'm confident about.
Right.
But it's taken a journey to get to that confidence in whatever I do. So there's shit I'm not confident about, and I'll tell you that too. You know what I mean? Even within my line of work, and I think it's like anything. You build up a little certain armor to that stuff. And man, I still get nervous every time I pick up a script and see that I'm about to do it. And I still have a little butterfly thought of like, I'm not sure I can do this.
Do you like getting to character? Like if you were studying for a role and you live that character for the past 2 weeks or whatever?
Yeah, and that's called method acting, and I certainly was trained to be attentive to that style of creating characters. The modern day version of it and my version of it is something like this. Like, let's say I got to play a heroin addict, right? Or anything in that zone. Well, I've never done heroin. I've about the closest thing to addiction I have is coffee.
Okay.
And pretty Puerto Rican women. Those are my addictions. So, and I've had
feisty ones.
and I've had 2 of those in my life, and and my daughter's a pretty Puerto Rican woman too.
Okay.
So
she's half Puerto Rican.
she's half, yeah.
And
You don't know
where
this
you
about
again?
me, brother. Yo soy un boricua de embuste. Y mi acento cuando hablo español es puro puertorriqueño, ¿verdad?
Oh, okay.
Sí,
Okay.
tú no sabes eso.
No. We're gonna get down to the bottom now.
See, this is what I'm saying about that neighborhood love that we learn, and I know this about you're a proud Puerto Rican brother, and
I'm half Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I know you
My
are.
mother's from Central America.
She's Central American. Oh, Nicaragua. That's a beautiful country. I went there for the first. You ever been?
As a child.
Yeah.
4
I
years
went
old.
there. I was lucky enough to go there like 4 years ago. Man, that country is.
They're from the capital. They're from Managua.
Managua. I spent a couple days. That country
I hear
is
it's very beautiful.
gorgeous, man. Beautiful, beautiful country. I mean, it's
They got volcanoes over there.
Oh, it's so beautiful. People, a lot of people that haven't been to that part of the world don't associate it this way, but it's right next to Costa Rica, so it's that same coastline. It's that same beautiful landscape that you get from Costa Rica, which is just a more developed country.
And that's like
right next
right
door
there,
neighbors.
right.
Yeah, it's the same beautiful strip of country. It's so beautiful. I didn't know that your mom was Nicaraguan.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Costa Rica too. I heard it's very beautiful over there.
So beautiful. So this is again goes back to my acting is like I married a Puerto Rican woman and Sophia's mother, and the Puerto Ricans took me in like their own, bro. It's like my
Very
adoptive. Best people in the world. Those are.
Have you visited Puerto Rico?
My daughter was practically raised there during the summertime. Her grandparents still lived over there, and we sent her every summer. Me and her mom got married there. I would get when I was married to her mom. I was back and forth from Puerto Rico my whole adult life. It's literally my adoptive culture, bro. In some ways, like my dad's Afghan, and I'm very proud of my Afghan heritage, but I don't speak the language very well. I don't speak Farsi that well. So I have some certain just social roadblocks that have kept me at distance from my own culture. But Puerto Ricans embrace me in a way, bro. I feel more Puerto Rican than anything, and I got not one drop of blood in me. They just
You into
embrace
the
me,
Puerto Rican
bro.
food?
I love that whole island,
How
man.
about the whole,
That whole
the
island.
frituras, like all the
Las
fried
frituras
alcapurrias
en esos kioscos cerca de la playa, allí cerca de San Juan.
I got to try what kind of fish was it? It was a fish on a stick.
Oh, those are the swordfish skewers.
Yes.
Yeah, those are
yes.
freaking amazing.
It tastes amazing.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it was at the beach too.
Yeah,
Somewhere around,
right over there.
I forgot the name of the beach, but it was very good.
Oh,
good.
they're so good.
Very good.
So good.
I went there a few years back when my father passed away, and then a little bit before
Your
that.
dad lived there on the island?
Yeah, he was been out there since I was a kid.
Were you born on the island?
No, I was born here.
Okay, okay.
And he moved out there very early.
Got you.
When I was a kid.
Got you. So was he born there on the
Yes, he
island?
was.
So he came here.
He built a house over there.
Gotcha. What do you know what part
married again.
where his house is?
Trujillo.
Trujillo.
Yeah.
Alto. Trujillo Alto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the family was from.
Yeah. Little outside of San Juan, little neighborhood, right?
He built a 2-story house over there with a garage in the bottom, and we recently sold it. You know, I had 2 sisters that I met in their late 30s.
Okay.
And when he died, he left us that. So
Okay.
Thanks to him, you know, we settled that.
Got it. Got it.
But yeah, I got a beautiful family over there from his side. They always treated me with nothing but love. When they lived over here, they lived on Taffy and Myrtle.
Okay.
It's like Bed-Stuy.
Okay. Bro, I got to tell you, my dad's culture is this way. The Afghans, Arab cultures, Muslim cultures, very much, if they take you in, they don't let you go.
Yeah.
But Puerto Ricans, bro, if a Puerto Rican loves you, he ain't or she ain't never letting you go unless you cross them and don't go through the process of asking for that forgiveness and love, but they're always ready to love you back. Puerto Ricans are a loving people, bro.
Yeah.
They are
That's
a
true.
loving people. Feisty, independent, as we all should be. Big hearts, though.
Like Dominican women, like you can go to restaurants and they're very loving and very caring.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of different Spanish cultures are very loving and caring like that, I can say.
Yeah.
I was love words, and sometimes you're like,
Yeah.
why is she calling me
Amorcito. I love it.
I feel like she calls me Amor. Why is she calling me Amor?
I love it. Well, that's very like that part of Spanish culture was easy for me to understand because I grew up in the South, and that's very similar down there. Hey dear, hey honey, hey love. That's part of the lexicon of that part of America.
Is it called chavity?
Okay, I don't know that.
No, what is it called when you what's the word I'm looking for when you're very sweet to a woman?
Oh, chivalry.
Chivalry.
Got it. Yeah.
Chivalry.
Yep.
That's kind of gone a little bit. You know?
It has.
Now, if you're acting that way, it's like automatically, oh, he wants
There's
me.
some suspicion, or I know
he likes me. You can't just be, hey, sweetheart, you know.
I know it.
Because automatically, it's like, oh, you know, we're at work. Oh, why are you calling me sweetheart?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think I've noticed. I mean, I'm single now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, altogether 7 years, so in and out of the dating game and in on that.
Would you still put the chair out for him?
Yeah, I do. That's what I was getting
Gentleman?
at. That's what I was getting at, man. And my daughter's dating this really nice young man who needed some help in that area. When I met him, I said, you gotta hold that door for your lady, and so you try to pass it on. But I think you're right. It's dying, but I think it's appreciated by women when you do that, and I'm sure the opposite way. Men have some version of old school.
I still do it. You know, I still act as polite as a gentleman should be with a woman.
Yeah, I think it's important.
If I come across a woman who's a little more alpha-ish, I guess, so to speak, then I might put that in my back pocket.
You read the room for
you know?
each situation. I get you, but at the end of the day, I think all that cut stuff may be performative, but if it comes from a real place,
There's
I
still
think
some
it's
people though
appreciated.
because just yesterday I had a friend who was telling me about him walking up to a woman in the car to help her with something, and her reaction was just very vulgar.
Yeah, she was off-put.
I mean, he's black too, so I don't know. Some people, there's still a lot of racism going on out there.
Unfortunately, there's a lot everywhere.
And
Everywhere. And it's...
even on this block, I came across
Yep.
a couple of neighbors next door who they didn't know that one of my friends who was visiting me was parking a car, and all I heard was some foul spick of this, that, and third.
Yep.
And I was like, oh,
we haven't evolved as a culture to that place yet. We try and we make fits and starts at it and back and forth.
My friend
we're
said,
not there.
if you want to know how people really feel about you, drive.
Oh, yeah.
On the road, that's when people don't give a fuck about you. It's like, they'll curse you out.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck what you're going through in your day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's just so hostile.
Because they're hostile and they're protected behind all that cage of steel.
They might be late for something, and you know, everybody's, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the roads will definitely show you
That's where all the energy is. Yeah.
the realness of the people.
Yeah.
New York especially.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. New York is a real place, like everybody says. There's nothing that's not true about that statement.
Do you work out?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you do a lot of biking.
Yeah, we saw you in front of, we saw each other in front of the gym here recently,
you was
remember?
at the gym that time?
Yeah, I was coming out of the gym.
Okay.
I go there every day. You know, I love my relationship with working out. I started to say this earlier. I was a soccer player when I was younger, and that's how I got to acting, actually. I injured my knee one semester playing soccer, and I had all this after-school time, and there was a new drama teacher, Keith Salter, in my high school years. I was starting a drama program at my school, and he said, why don't you, with your new time after your space after school, come over and audition for the play? And I did, and I loved it, and I fell in love with acting, and I never went back to soccer. So I kind of came from an athletic place into this new passion of mine, which was acting and theater. And
you play organized soccer?
I did, yeah, pretty competitive. But I still treat, because of that and because it's just me, I treat my career now kind of like an athlete. So on the off time, I really like to stay in shape as mind, body, and soul, and and I really like working out as being a former athlete in my youth. It was kind of in my DNA to keep healthy. But yeah, I'm there at least 6 days.
When you're biking, you do long runs on the bike?
You know, I don't do long distance runs. I do those for sprint. Because I used to be able to run on the streets and I could do real sprints, but my knees said you can't do that anymore, so I went to biking. So
I got a tear meniscus myself.
Yeah, that's what I had.
One operated, and I think this one's done.
That's the same as me, Carlos. I've had 2 operations on this one. This one's done, but as long as I don't beat it up anymore, it's livable. So.
And it was working out too. I was jumping on the cubes.
You were telling me this.
Yeah. And I was so upset because I was just
building up that musculature.
Yeah, I felt like I was getting past a certain limit, and then it was like,
tore it.
Went back down to like ground zero.
Yeah, the knees are tricky, bro. I've had knees and shoulder stuff, but thank God, you know, I'm at an age where I'm happy to just be able to go to the gym and do my bike rides. But yeah, for biking, I just do uphill sprints. I go up to around down Jamaica Avenue and up what's that big hill, that one
Miller Hill?
Miller Hill. I do sprints around that. So, yeah. Around the park, and then my final sprint is up there.
Is that where you find your peace at, like in the gym or working out?
I do that, and my my motorcycle rides too. I get out in the summertime and get some zen with my motorcycle. I might take a 2-hour drive out Long Island and just be by myself and just with my thoughts. I do a lot of clearing with that kind of stuff too.
I know a lot of people out there said that driving is therapeutic for them.
It really is, man.
As long as you don't run into those hard asses.
Yeah. I tell my daughter, which is true. It is true. You know, every time you jump on a motorcycle, you really know it could be your last trip. And if you're not resigned to that, you probably shouldn't ride. But I'm okay with it. I don't live life like I want to die, but if I go over on a motorcycle, I always tell my daughter, you know, I lived happy. I had a good life. And
how long have you been riding motorcycles?
Since I was a kid. Street bikes, basically, since I've lived in New York, 20-ish plus years. But yeah, I've had motorbikes have been a part of my life.
Did you just get a new whip?
No.
No?
A whip?
A new car?
Oh, no, it's not new. I mean,
But you don't have the white one, right?
That
You have something
yeah, I
else?
do have that one.
Okay. I thought I
You
saw
might
you.
see me with my daughter's little car,
Oh,
Kia.
okay. Maybe it's my
I might have been driving a lady
Mm.
friend's car at some point that you saw, but I have that little Mini Cooper, which is that the one you're talking about, the white one?
Yeah, I know you had a white one, but I thought I saw you in something else just the
Trying
other
to think,
day.
was I
Maybe
driving
maybe
somebody?
it was somebody else.
I think it was somebody else. I've not
Yeah,
been in
it could have
anybody
been somebody
else's
else.
car. Yeah, a little Mini Cooper. Yeah, it's good for these little tight squeezes on this block.
Yeah, those little cars help
Yeah,
to find parking easily too.
yeah.
So you have a very long catalog, man.
You know, I've been in really quality projects, Carlos. Again, I'm not always. I like to say I'm not the big star or the
Yeah.
most
But
famous
you
guy in a
stay
room.
working. Like,
Yeah, man. But I say I'm not the most famous guy, but I work with famous people and I make their films better. That's what I always say. Because I've been in a lot of quality
I
projects.
asked you yesterday about sports. You don't even basketball's not your thing.
You
'Cause
know,
right now the Knicks are,
I loved playing street ball as a kid, so I love the sport itself, but I don't follow it as a fan.
right.
Yeah.
But the Knicks now are in the playoffs.
I'm hearing this
Yeah.
from the New York energy on the
yes,
streets.
the New York energy is real.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I love it. I love it. I've always been a fan of sports. Period. I was more when I was a kid. I guess I could say, oh yeah, I'm a Met fan, and I knew all the names. But as I got older, I just kind of just became just a sport fan.
Yeah, any competition.
Anything from basketball to baseball, from football. I could watch soccer. I was watching the hockey. They got the hockey playoffs going on now.
Yeah, that's
Are
an
you into
exciting
hockey?
sport. Again, I should be. I was born in Canada, but no, that's another sport that I was so into soccer, dude, that that is just my sport. Unlike you branched out and appreciate all sports now. I just
Right. Well, we did that on the block, like we was talking about the block, and this is what being and raised on the block like that kind of results to like sharing different sports. This was like in the same day we would play like a baseball game, a football game, a basketball game, all in one day.
Oh, that's
You know what I'm saying?
awesome.
Like,
That's awesome.
just to stay busy. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
These kids today, the second they put down the phone, I'm bored.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but you got to be more intuitive about your activities and
I think so.
put
I
the
think
phone down.
yeah, and I think as you know, we're in a parenting generation. You and I are both literally parents, but at our age, I think
How old is your daughter now?
she's 22. But I think the best we can do is because this technology is what it is. Look, we're doing this because of this wonderful technology.
Yes.
So we can't poo-poo it too much. But you know, I like to tell Sophia, like, don't forget to learn how to be with people in person because
Right.
there's no equivalent to it. You know, there's no match for getting to know somebody like we're doing here in person. There's no cultivate your language, cultivate, you know. Dude, for years of my
Cultivate the brand.
cultivate the brain, but also just human relations. Learn how to be in a room with somebody. Some people don't know how to be.
Yeah.
And you know,
Some
linguistically,
people get weird around other people.
Yeah, I always tell Sophia like, I did as a young actor, I did every grunt job you could think of. Like, I worked in restaurants, I worked in nightlife in this city, bartending, like everything that most young entertainers do. And Carlos, when it came especially to like bartending, I was the worst fucking bartender in the world when I started. Because I didn't grow up around alcohol. I didn't know any, but I schmoozed my way to get a job or something, and I got a job as a bartender. And I remember, and this was before the digital age, before like when you could like click up a wine or a liquor app and find out the cocktail mix. So I remember my first day on the job as a bartender alone. Some guy asked me for a Manhattan, and I had no idea what it was. Like I say, these days you can turn around and pull up the app and
Right,
find,
right.
oh, well, here's what, this is before all that. So I said, sir, I said, I know how I like my Manhattans, but I'd rather know how you like yours. And he said, oh, I like it with, 2 shots of this and the top of that and a cherry or not.
Right.
And from that, I learned how to make a Manhattan. And so I learned in that moment. And by the end of the night, dude, that guy he was like, this guy's the best bartender in New York. Meanwhile, he didn't know that an hour earlier, I didn't even know how to make the drink that he's loving sitting in front of him. So from that, I just learned, you know, good or bad or indifferent, you can learn how to do something. But if you treat people right, if you have that, you can move in any circle, anything. Doesn't mean you'll be the best at it, but it means you'll be accepted, and that's the first part of moving through life, right?
That's 100%. Because I can tell you that I've always been very about when it comes to haircuts, right? I've always been very specific. Like, you know, it has to be sharp. It has to be even. This can't be higher than this.
All business with the craft.
Everything is very precise with me.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I consider myself to be, you know, a league when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But I noticed that there's barbers that don't have that gift, but they have this gift.
Yes.
And so they get away with unprecise haircuts because they're talking the person's ear off, or just having that good communication. And
well, listen, let me go back a little bit from what I said. The true thing is that I tell my daughter is be good at both, but make sure you're a good people person. You know, never stop letting up on whatever it is you're trying to be good and be a perfectionist at that. So I'm a hybrid of what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. If you don't have the craft.
Do you come across a lot of people in your industry that still lack that?
Yeah.
You know?
It's very
people's person type of attitude?
Yeah, sure. It's a mix, like in any industry, in any pursuit, you're going to find both sides of this thing. But in my business, it's very glaring because you are your product, right? Like you are your product. This right here is me. I show up to a job, that's my product. So, you know, there's a lot of nepotism in my business, just like there is in any business. But in mine, it's glaring when it falls apart. So I'm not going to name names here, but there's a very famous Oscar-winning actor that has a son with his last name. And if I said to you his father's last name, you would know who I'm talking about. But if I said to you his son's first and last name together, you wouldn't know. And the reason you wouldn't know is because that kid sucks as an actor. Go ahead. Did that get on there? Yeah. Maybe that was God intervening, saying, "Oh, you're about to go into somebody's reputation. You better be careful. Turn that camera off."
Sign.
But you still got it over here, didn't you?
Yeah, that's still running.
Yeah.
So you were saying the kid
took
some classes.
So the kid probably took some classes and got a couple of roles on his father's name, right? Well, the kid sucked. And the moral of the story is, dude, in my business, there's classic nepotism that runs all the way through that industry. But what's good about it, the flip side of that, is that you really have to prove your mettle. So it doesn't matter what your last name is. If you show up on the day and you can't hit your craft, you can't do what an actor's supposed to do, and you don't deliver, all you leave with that day is your name. You really don't have, you got to prove yourself. Meanwhile, I mean, I haven't seen the kid do anything else. So he probably ended his career right there with that role that was probably given to him. So listen, that's true. I accept that. I came into this business completely unconnected. I have my dad was an engineer in Arkansas and my mother was a teacher. So I don't have any entertainment connections. And
you're not an industry plant.
Not an industry plant. I moved up here at 18 and bartended for the first 15 years of my life on these streets, bro. And I got into this. Well, one thing that I did keep focusing on which is exactly what you talk about being in the barber's chair and having craft versus somebody that has some other talents but not the craft.
Right.
I always concentrated on the craft at that. I mean, I always knew this gift of gab that I'm talking about, I didn't really use that in my professional career. Like, it doesn't hurt to have a good personality with whatever job you're doing, because then people just want to be around you. That's just natural. But I have a master's degree in acting, so I kept the
Right.
craft serious.
What university?
I went to University of Missouri at Kansas City for graduate school, and I went to undergrad at Rutgers University over in New Jersey, which were really great programs. But my point is, I kept focusing on the craft. I spent between undergrad and grad school 7 years of my life working on the craft itself. So I'm not one of these that preaches like get into this business based on your personality. I didn't do it that way, and I learned the craft first. So I'm really more aligned with what you said. You're focused on in your career. I'm very similar that way in mine.
Yeah, the barbershop has I guess I could say has kept me grounded a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it feels very. Excuse me, can you go over there? Go. She wants to be in the show.
See, Dad, you said go to sleep. You didn't say how long. You'd say nap or.
Have a seat. Sit down. Welcome to the show.
Hey, girl.
So yeah, now the barbershop has kept me grounded. I felt like my daughter even told me this one time. She goes, "Dad, I'm very happy that I grew up around the barbershop, and it taught me a lot. You know, like I've had clients, you know, that was helping her with math or whatever homework she had, and it gave her a different perspective, I guess you could say, than the average kid would
You
get.
know what it also does, and my daughter's this way, and I know your daughter just to see her around high and by, but I know that groundedness you talk about, it also makes people very real, and that's the essence of being good at anything, is just being real about it, right? So I think that's important on so many levels.
Well, when you get around a lot more people, you start to see what we just talked about, which is like their weirdness, and then you kind of like level up.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, well, you don't want to knock them, but you're not trying to be like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that weirdness comes out sometimes, I guess, because some people want to be down.
Yeah.
Or they want to fit in.
Yeah.
And,
I think
they're just reaching too much, like just.
And
be
suddenly
you.
they're not themselves, and they just
Right.
kind of lose any essence. I see that a lot.
You don't see authenticity, and then
No.
it just gets weird.
Let me tell you about an authenticity story. It's one of my favorite stories of. 'Cause I did the last season of The Sopranos. Were you a watcher of that show?
I did watch some of that.
Okay,
yeah.
so
I didn't watch the whole.
I didn't watch the whole
Yeah.
series until I was on the series, which was in the last season. I did 8 episodes. And
The show was already over. Like I started watching some seasons.
I basically did the same thing. Once I did that season, I went back and caught up on everything.
Hey.
But talking about authenticity, that show was magic because of its authenticity. And my first day on that set, my first day on the Sopranos set, I went and did a scene, and it was typical like wise guy energy scene. I didn't even have dialogue in that scene, but I was in the mix and kind of like in the side watching the scene. And then after that scene, we cut and we go to lunch, and it was like sitting in a catering hall, like a cafeteria style catering hall. So everybody from the crew is there, you know how it is, and the cast that I just shot with. Okay. It was my first day on the job, so I really didn't know many of the people in the scene with me personally. And this guy that was in the scene is over, sitting kind of catty-cornered from me across the table, but some distance away, and he's muttering his lines. And I was like, wow, that guy's in real character. This guy's a real pro. We're here at lunch and he's doing his lines out loud. And the lines sounded like some typical Sopranos stuff. Like, you know, you don't meet me, I'm going to break your fucking fingers. Something, you know, it was that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And I turned to somebody that was more regular on the show, and I said, that dude's dedicated. He's over there, we're at lunch, and he's practicing his lines. And this guy goes, he's not practicing lines. Look on Look in front of him on the table in front of him. His phone is on speaker. He's talking to somebody. And I go, so Carlos, this guy was the real deal.
Yeah.
This guy wasn't practicing his lines. This is who this guy was. So
Okay.
the magic of that show, you had some A-lister like Michael Pirioli and James Gandolfini and Edie Falco, who were old theater actors from way back with
What was
Kraft.
the name of the head of The Sopranos?
Well, James Gandolfini.
Right.
Played Tony Soprano.
Right.
Is that who you mean? Yeah. Those guys were all pro craftsmen of actors.
I actually met him.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Took my daughter to see the Grinch.
Okay.
Christmas in Broadway.
Okay.
And I was rubbing shoulders with him, and I turned around. I was like, "Oh, how you doing?"
He was a great guy.
Yeah.
He was a great. I didn't know him well like a friend, but
Right.
I spent a lot of time on that show. He was a nice man.
Rest in peace, to him.
Yes, absolutely. But I'll just put a button on that story. So the magic of that show was, yeah, they hired some really great seasoned actors, but most of the side characters that were peppered in, they were just the real deal. They were just neighborhood guys
Right.
that they said come and play a role in our little show.
Okay.
So the magic there is, again, authenticity, kind of going back to what you were
Right.
trying to tell you instill in your daughter, and you were your authentic self, man. You never go wrong, and I think, I don't know if we're in an era where, I don't know, man. I
It's
think
difficult to find your authentic self.
I just that too maybe, but I don't think people are afraid to be flawed. You know, I think there's a lot of people with perfection complexes that think that humanity is without flaw, and that's just that's inauthentic right there. I just like, fuck. I've been broken. I'm broken, but
Right.
I've also been up for a few minutes. You know, like I'm all of that. Like, I just think to be authentic, people got to embrace that we're not perfect here, man. We fuck up and we learn, and hopefully pass on the fuck ups to the younger generation or whatever. But authenticity.
And we should get better from the fuck ups. We should
Yeah.
get better from the rejections.
I agree, bro.
People don't take rejection well, so they kind of get back into a shell when they get rejected from something.
It's not fun. It's never fun, right?
No, not at all.
It's never fun. But you realize what you did wrong in it and what you did right, and like somewhere in between is the truth and like humanity.
It's like recording everything now, setting everything up now. Like later on when I'm done, I'll see what I did, and when I didn't do, I'll
Oh,
be like,
dude.
I see where I failed. I see where I didn't fail.
That's
I
the
see-
that's the craftsman
You know?
journey. That's every audition that I go on that I don't get.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, give me another minute.
you gotta fail gracefully. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Man, I remember one time, this is when I was a young actor working on Broadway and off Broadway, and man, it was a second callback, so I know at that point it was down to me and this one other guy, and he was a friend of mine, is a friend of mine. He ended up getting the role, but I left that second callback feeling half-hearted about it, and I got home, and I literally called the casting director, and I was like, can you give me one more shot? Can I come? And this was before like the era of like self-tape where you could like throw your audition on tape and send it. This was like, no, the auditions are done. The casting, everybody went home. The director's at home and fucking in bed right now. Like, what are you calling me? And she was kind of gracious about it. She didn't, but the tone was, the reality was what I just said. And I was like, but I remember, oh, can you give me one more shot? I know what to do better now. And I was like, oh man, I didn't get that shot, of course, but you live and learn from that stuff.
There was a time when you send videos to.
That's more now. There was a
okay.
time when that didn't happen.
Okay. So
Really,
today you
It's
record something and send it.
It's all self-tapes these days. There was an era where self-tapes started taking over, but you would still have to go into a casting director's office and they'd put you on tape and send it out to LA or whatever. But it was always very in person, just kind of like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
COVID had a lot to do with it. During COVID era, of course, my business went away during COVID. The industry just went to sleep for 2 years. But when it started coming back, everyone was like self-tape because, people were still, social distancing, or the residual of that was still left in society. So it was a natural thing to just send in self-tapes. So really that's more of a new thing in my industry. I hardly ever go, into an in-person interview or audition anymore. It's all self-tape. And even Zoom auditions have become a big thing. So yeah, that's more of a new thing.
You know what I always wondered about movies? How do they do these scenes where they're so intimate, a man and a woman, without it becoming such
weirdness?
So tense.
Yeah. Listen, dude, first of all, again, back to that leading man, character man. I'm not in I don't typically play your sexy, hot leading man, so I don't have many of those scenes. I wish
Mr. Romantic.
Exactly. I wish I had more of those. But the few that I have had, bro, it's like every other actor says about it, man. It looks intimate on camera, but it's not. You got a whole crew of people there. You're taking 12 hours to shoot that 5-minute sex scene or whatever. It's not, you stop and start, you go to lunch, you come back. It's not romantic in the end. Now look, man, I'm a red-blooded, warm-blooded, all good old American boy, so I can't say that when I've done it, it hasn't been fun. You give over to the fun, especially if it's somebody that you're attracted to.
Right.
But so that reality doesn't go away, but the reality of it being, first of all, it's not actual sex. I think a lot of people think that actual sex scenes are actual sex, like intercourse. It's nothing like that in my side of the business.
That's a totally different industry.
Totally different industry, exactly. I might end up there if this doesn't go very well.
What's what do you get paid for now that you love to do, that you would keep doing it even if you didn't get paid for?
I mean, I can answer that because it's this one and the same answer. My career is sort of a mix of that. So, like, at this point in my career, I wish I went from job to job to job and had that kind of income coming in all along. I don't. So the nature of my career is I do a big job in a chunk, or 2 jobs that make my year, and thank God allow me to make my payments and live. And in between, if I'm not lucky enough to have a job that fills in the in-between, what I do is I do a love project. I do an indie film with a buddy of mine, Dan Pissarro, who's a great local Brooklyn filmmaker, and we make a love project. We work on his film together, making no money, but it'll pay off someday. So, yeah, I do like a little love project to keep my muscles going. So the answer to your question directly is I would do this same job that I do because it's very much like that. Sometimes I don't get paid very much for the jobs, the work I do, and I still love it. I still love it. I've been lucky enough to be able to balance out between being a Broadway theater actor years ago to always have some form of, and the residual structure of a SAG-AFTRA is really good. So, like, if I do a project that's shot, like The Sopranos, I still get a little mailbox money from that, a little kickback from that. It's tiny, but still, it's something coming in over the years, on all these projects I do. So thank God that's still in place. And that's what the writer's strike was largely all about, was we were fighting for those.
How'd that go for you during the writer's strike?
It went well. I mean, I think I was for it.
Off, right?
Yeah, we were off. I mean, it went well in the sense that I think we got what we asked for, which is yin and the yang in that. The yin and yang exists in that too, but it was not fun. It was not easy. The industry is still kind of coming back from that slumber, so like the work is at like half load. So we're still climbing back from that as an industry-wide concept. But for me, I'm very much a union guy. I'm a proud true blue union Democrat.
In comparison to music, though, you guys don't get to like, you don't go through the whole unbalance of payouts, the way the music industry is?
Well, that's partially what we were fighting so hard in the strike for, because we were going that direction. It was that the music
Underpaid.
industry grid and burying costs and burying what do you call it in the music industry, royalties,
Right,
right?
royalties.
That's that whole crux of issues was starting to happen with us from the streaming platforms. So that's what the strike really.
You heard about these streaming platforms now, right? How they were fighting for like a penny or something?
No, I do know that template, and that's where we were going as actors too. So we kind of got out in front of that. But to answer your question, if we don't fight, we'll go that same way. You know.
I thought about, you know, because I'm into music, and since young I was like, well, maybe, you know how you said, God works in mysterious ways, or God is talking in a certain type of way. Maybe I didn't get deep in back then because of so many imbalances that I can just feel it in my gut. Right? It's not the time for you now. Like, I've always felt something that will make me go left instead of right.
Yeah.
Something protecting me. You know?
Yeah.
My grandmother's angel. I don't know, but I said, you know, if I would have made it as a young kid, I probably would have wasted money on the most ridiculous things. Who knows what would have happened? Now, as an older person, like I'm embracing the music a little more, and I think I'm moving more to a space where I'm not gonna care much about what comes out of it. Just put it out.
Dude.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the heartbeat that I've always listened to. That's always been it. I've had times when this business is tough that I'm in. I've had times when I thought I could do anything else. And I always listen to myself. And if I ever felt...
You've had moments you felt like you wanted to...
Yeah, bro, this is a hard business. You know, there's times when the phone stops ringing, you know. And I always think, you know, I could go teach. I have a degree to do that. My parents were professors. I could easily do that and make... But where would I be happy? And I'm never... If I can't answer that question other than acting, then there's no reason to leave it. That's always been my guide. It's always been a gut compass that I listen to. Kind of like what you just said.
What is IMDb?
I think it stands for Internet Music Database, which is...
Is that you're involved with this?
Well, I'm not involved with it. It's a clearinghouse type website that lists all actors' resumes, basically. But
when I looked you up, this came up.
Yeah, I'm definitely on it. Yeah.
Okay.
But all actors are. It's just like, it's kind of...
It's just a site.
It's a site. Yeah. To cross-reference a person's resume or their history in the business. Every actor, you know, has an IMDb page, IMDb page, but it's not exclusive to me. Yeah, I've if you look at that page, you see kind of all the TV and film projects I've done. But I always say I've been lucky and not lucky. I'll pat myself on the back to say that I'm this type of actor. Again, I'm not your most famous guy in a room, but the stuff I do is quality. You know, I've done some really quality projects, and I may not be splashed up on everybody's TV screen every night, but when you see me, it's usually quality work. And
Definitely,
quality
I've seen
projects.
a few of your work.
Yeah.
And definitely impressed. And
no, thanks, man.
One of the first times I was like, was that Donnie?
Yeah. I think you asked me, or your brother I had a conversation with asked me if I was in Ad Astra or something. The space movie, the Brad Pitt movie.
Ad Astra?
Yeah, I think it might have been that one that your brother
was Captain Tanner.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're good. You're good.
And I remember the scene when you got killed.
Yeah. I always say...
What was there?
I would say that scene sucked because I got killed, and it also ended my paycheck on that day. So I got killed in two different ways that were brutal. When I shot
what exactly
that scene.
Killed him in space, though? I was like, what?
Space monkey, they said.
Space monkey.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. There's a cool little YouTube sizzle about. Have you ever seen that? About if you type in Donnie Keshawarz Ad Astra on YouTube, there's a cool little it's like a sizzle about the project. It's some interviews. Let's see. You want me to do it now?
Yeah, you can tell me.
Are you on YouTube here, or is this? Do I need to hit YouTube? No.
Actually,
Got to go to
it's
YouTube, right?
Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, use the pad. Use the pad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, one of the things we both got daughters pretty much the same age.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever like? Did she ever seem interested in the same field as you?
So she was very young and went to. Let me type this in.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's. Oh, I keep hitting the keypad instead of the.
Yeah, if it's on, you could type it into that.
Oh shit! You just switched it up for me.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just get this and then I'll.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me check the time on this.
Okay. Yeah, this is a pretty cool little puzzle about that movie. Some of what that one right there, if you want to watch it now or at some point.
Yeah, I'll check this out.
Yeah, check it out. I didn't know how you wanted to do that. But anyway, check that out. It goes into the whole monkey killing and by the director. What was I going to say?
It's amazing how they make these scenes nowadays, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that one was old school. We did, of course, a lot of the space stuff was CGI. But we went out and they built a whole set of, they built the ship. So it wasn't all digitized. We sat in a cockpit that was about the size of two of these rooms put together that looked like cockpit. It was a set, old school. And even the stuff that we did flying, like I call flying, like the space floating, zero gravity stuff, was all on harnesses. So the studio space was used, and we really did that stuff. We didn't just like CGI backgrounds in. It was pretty. So this film was a mix of, it was a cool hybrid mix of like old school filmmaking with that big style set and some CGI stuff. But even the monkey that kills me, the space baboon, was not CGI'd. It was an actual like old school. It was a person in a suit under there. So it was pretty cool the way that director, particularly James Gray, wanted that. He's a real filmophile and a film buff. Like in addition to being an incredible film director, he's a film buff himself. He's like a kid when he talks about film. So, but I do know he set out to make a mix. He wanted some old school screen techniques to be applied to a new way and still set it in space. That was a cool film. I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was some of Brad Pitt's best work, honestly. I thought.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah.
These I was listening to Will Smith talk about emancipation. And he said that his what was it? What do you call it? Your co-actor?
Scene partner or co-star.
Co-star, right, of the movie. They were both in characters through the whole time until like the end. Yeah. When the director's like, all right, that's it. We got it. When that's when his co-actor actually greeted him, like, whatever. Yeah. But throughout the whole joint, there was just the character. There was no, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story about that with me personally. I told you earlier, I can't, look, I'm pretty good at doing accents only because I'm a character actor that has to do them a lot. But it's a decent, like, skill of mine. So I had done this audition with this, and I'll do it in the dialect. I did a British dialect for this character recently, and when I did the audition, I did it just like this. And when I met the director goes, "Oh, Donnie, could you do it in your regular accent, your American accent?" I said, "Oh, no, it was opposite." He said, "Oh, we thought you were a British guy, and we were going to ask you to do it in an American accent." And I said, Oh, I said, well, I grew up in Arkansas and I switched it right away. So that kind of stuff is slippery with me.
Yeah.
So people, for years, Carlos. Huh? Oh, go for it.
What happened over here?
Go for it.
So yeah, getting back to the idea of our kids, like I thought that I could influence my daughter for a little while, but then I noticed she didn't grasp it. So I didn't want to put too much pressure on her to have to be something that I want to be.
Yeah.
And I just let it be. I let her live her life. I feel like, I shouldn't put pressure on her to do something that is in my journey, unless it comes natural from her, So
Bro,
can see.
I think when people do that, whether they live for somebody else or they go against their own instincts, it always blows up later down the road. You know what I mean? When you do something for somebody else to make somebody else happy, be a professional, go into a profession that mom or dad wanted you to go in instead of you yourself, it always backfires at some point. Like, it always blows up. Like what I do in life, it's tough. It's a tough grind, but I fucking love it.
Right.
Whereas a lot of my friends are in easy professions. That's all. It's set it and forget it, and
They might be miserable.
they're miserable. Some of them, not all of them, but
Right.
I've heard this often. You
Right,
know?
right.
So I think your instinct as a father is probably right on with.
Yeah, I mean, I've one of the guys that I listen to a lot is Gary Vee.
Okay, I
He
don't
speaks
know.
on that a lot. He speaks on the idea of allowing your kid to blossom on his do what they want to do and not put that on them. And like, as you can see, I invest my money so she can see this is what I love.
Yeah, yeah. Follow
But,
a passion. She sees it.
Right.
She sees it.
And I would be like, if you're interested, which I did in the beginning when she was just barely going to school, right? Probably when she was about 6 or 7, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. I had a song I was playing, and she was just singing it. And I was like, hey, you sound good. Why don't we, let me record you just the way you're doing it, and just see what's up, right? So I showed her how to press the record button and stop and go back and forth or whatever. I said, listen, this is how you do this, and just record that little piece you did. It was a chorus. I'm gonna go take a shower. So I left my door open in the shower because I wanted to hear where she was at with it, and it sounded great. By the time I come out, let me hear it. What did you record? I didn't record anything. I was like, really? It was sounding good.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay.
But we finally recorded it when I came out, and it's a song I have there stashed
Amazing.
that we have a memory of.
Amazing.
It's called Together.
Oh, amazing.
Something like that, yeah.
Amazing. And you'll, like you
A
say,
couple
you'll
of songs.
always have that.
Right.
My sister was a singer, and we lost my sister young. She was 39 to ovarian
sorry to hear
cancer.
that.
But we have recordings of her that are precious to have. Yeah, Sophia. Back to your original question. She was raised in this. She used to go see my Broadway shows when she was little, like this, and she was fascinated as any kid would be. So she was no different there. But when she was like, I think she was in middle school, I had an audition back in the city for a commercial. And no, she was younger. She was at an age where I was definitely Mr. Mom in that era. I didn't have a job at the moment. And
Been there.
yeah, no. And I had to, upshot is, I had to take her with me to my audition because I didn't have anybody to watch after her for one reason or another that day. So she went in the city with me to my commercial audition, and I do my audition, and she waits out in the lobby, and I finish, and the director kind of walks out with me and shakes my hand and says goodbye, and I leave, and I get a call, like, before I'm even out of the building, says, hey, this is the casting director, says, hey, the director saw your daughter there in the waiting room, in the lobby. Like, we have a place in this commercial for a kid. Would she come up and audition? And I said, well, she's shy as hell. I don't know if acting would be her thing. Anyway, upshot of it is, Carlos, she booked this commercial, and I didn't book it. I was my audition, right? We went for me. The kid books the commercial, and we go out. It's on Coney Island, and it was a shoot that was near the beach, like on the boardwalk. And she had to jump rope for the whole commercial. Like that was her little spot in the commercial. She didn't have to say anything, I don't think. And it took like 12 hours to film this. It was a typical commercial shoot day. So on the way back, after she wraps, we're walking back towards the car, and I was just having that talk with her, say, so your first acting job, what'd you think? What'd you think? She said, Poppy, I hated it. All I got to do was freaking jump rope all day and listen to a director tell me this is how you should jump rope. And I was like, that's not how to jump rope. I know how to jump rope. I said, well, welcome to the craft. And so that pretty much began and ended her career. So it was good. And I always said, well, we don't need two struggling artists in one family anyway. So, but she did go to Performing Arts High School for drumming. She has a
I remember
that. Yeah, she
drums.
but she didn't do that as a passion either. She's going to be a nurse. She's in her last year of a nursing school. So
that's great.
So yeah, that's how that went down. But it's good. It's good. You can't push your kid any more
Overwhelm
than
them too much with the ideas.
you can't do it any more than our parents would have pushed us, and we wouldn't have had, it falls apart at some point. Follow the passion. That never steers you wrong.
Right.
In the moments that I've thought this business is grueling, I don't know if I can take one more period of not working or rejection or this or that, all this shit that comes with my business. I've always just looked inside and been like, as much as this part of it sucks, there's nothing else I love anymore.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, I'm like that with the music. I just put out a few songs recently, and I'm just gonna start putting more stuff out because I don't know how long I have left here. So I want to be able to leave things for those who might be curious what I was about or what I'm into, or what I like.
It's your legacy,
what
man.
I love,
Yeah.
And I just became a grandfather, so
there's one more piece to memorialize for you. Yeah. Filling up those memory books, man.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing that we 49 years later here, I'm still doing pretty much the same thing. Solid authenticity.
Yep.
Doing, not changing or shooting different ways. People sometimes are all over the place.
And for that, you'll be happy. You used the word earlier, grounded.
Right.
It grounded you.
Right.
You'll never lose that because that's your meter. That's your metric for to stay in the game or spread out.
Right.
Is I really have used that myself.
Yeah. So what's the best advice you could give the younger actors out there who are looking to strive in this business?
Self-assessment, and it goes back to kind of the theme we've been talking about this whole time, Carlos, of just being real to yourself, which means sometimes saying, hey, I'm not so good at this part of my craft.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you have to quit. It just means you have to sharpen up. I was never the best at doing commercials, the commercial industry. I just didn't have that style of acting. I didn't know the energy for it. It was real. But fuck, man, when I booked a commercial when I was younger, when I was doing that a lot, the money in those things, especially then, was like, I better start trying to do this more because it's like, fuck, it's like you do a commercial, you shoot it for a day and you can make your rent for the next year off of that with residuals and stuff. Right. A big national commercial, back in the day at least. I don't know how it is anymore. I was like, I better get good at this because I could quit bartending and just do this, So that is to say that I didn't necessarily think I had that skill, but you can always sharpen whatever you don't have. Right. And I just think it takes an ability to self-assess every now and then, look inside and say, this is what I'm good at, this is what I need work on. Or I don't think in this business, if you don't have that meter that internal meter on something like that, I think there's no guarantees in this business one way or the other about things. You may work, but I don't think you'll become a great craftsman. And that's what always been my focus. And I can only tell you my way, so my advice only comes from my perspective. There's a lot of different ways to get things done in this crazy business of mine, but my way has been always fixing the craft. I didn't care too much about whose hand I shook, what parties I went to, what elbows I rubbed. I cared more about that 5 minutes in the room. And so that meant I just had to be really good at my craft part of my job. And if I'm solid there, the rest kind of falls into place. So be a craftsman.
Be a craftsman.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. So, you see, we talking about imperfections and things like that. And I just realized, so we mic'd up, right?
And didn't turn them
No,
on.
this is on. This one is on. But I had cut this one off when we went to the bathroom.
Okay.
But we still got this mic.
Okay. Got something. These don't
In the
carry?
beginning, I just realized right now, in the beginning it was on. And then when we went to use the bathroom, I gave it a pause.
Damn, bro.
And I didn't press record again until just
On
now.
mine.
No. Just this whole thing right here. The big mic. This mic is working.
Oh, gotcha.
We're fine. We're being
So
recorded.
none of the big mics ever took when you
The
went.
big mic in the beginning, before you went to the bathroom, was on, and now
then-
I just turned it on a second ago.
Ah,
I'm like,
shit.
wait, it's not red. I'm like, oh,
Well, you know
This
what,
is
Carlos?
why-
I talk so fucking loud that it's probably better that these weren't on. I bet it'll.
yeah, no, this will be fine.
Okay.
This will be fine. But again, it's funny that happened. It's just a perfect example of what I said before.
There's
Sometimes,
no
yeah.
perfect.
If we worry about being perfect all the time, we'll never get nothing done.
There's this old famous Juilliard adage. You know Juilliard, the school at Lincoln Center, the art school. Supposed to have produced some of the best actors came out of there, and other artists. But a lot of great actors came out of the Juilliard training program. And there was an old adage that comes from that particular program, which is that people from Juilliard always said, like when they were doing live theater, like a live Broadway show type theater, they wished something would go wrong. They wished like if we were shooting the scene, this gets tipped over and the candle falls over during the scene, because that made it more real. So imperfections in acting in my business are really where the magic is. Like in life too, right? Like a scene is written and crafted, and a scene can be great on paper. But where the magic happens is the improv stuff, the improvisational stuff that comes, just like we're in here together.
You do a lot of improv on stuff that you've done?
I mean, you know, as a research method, yes. Do a lot of improving of the scene before we shoot it. I didn't ever I personally wasn't a part of like the improv movements, like the comedy improv. I didn't do too much of that. That
But like you add your own twist to a line or something?
Yeah, it happens. It does happen. Theater's a little different. Of course, when you're doing live theater in front of an audience, if you fuck up the line, you got to improv your way out of it. You got to, pepper in your own words to make it work. In film and TV and these big budget things, you just cut and go over and fix it. Go back and do it. But improv has definitely been a part of my lead up to creating a character.
Have you ever thought of Broadway?
I've done, that was my first stuff. Yeah, when I was younger, I did Broadway musicals and off-Broadway plays, and that was kind of the first part of my career. I'm actually a trained theater actor. All the film and TV stuff, I just learned doing it on the job. I didn't really have any training in that type of acting. Which that's probably a whole other episode. How the difference was.
This is not going to be the last one.
Yeah, good man. I hope so. I hope we have so more.
I mean, I've been a long time. We should have been done this a long time ago.
Yeah, but we
did.
But
we finally here, and I want to say thank you.
Man, Carlos, thank you, brother.
Sharing this with me, and definitely going to do it again. Hopefully, we'll get that slider working next time.
Yeah, we will. We get the mics on, get mic'd up.
I need a team, like you said before.
You do.
A team is I called a few people this morning to see if they can come and look over the cameras while I'm, but
It's guerrilla.
But we did it.
Guerrilla style, bro. It's the best.
I appreciate you, bro.
I love you, bro. Thank you, man.
If you want to let them know where they can follow you, or
I'm not. I mean, I have all the social medias. I think I'm D Keshawarz, or that's how bad I am. Let's just leave that for the next episode.
All right, you send me the
information. I think
information.
it's Donnie Keshawarz at IG on
you give me the right information.
I'll give it,
and I'll put it
in
down.
the link, as they say. But I'm on a few of the platforms. But
there you go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and stay up, stay blessed, and we out of here.
Carlos, that was a barrel of fun. That was great, man. I love that.